Carney is set to announce immigration plan. Where do levels stand now? All right, buckle up, Canada, because we're about to talk about the most controversial topic at every family dinner, coffee shop debate, and Twitter thread: immigration. What's up, Canada Bulletin fam? Today we're breaking down Carney's upcoming immigration plan that's dropping with next week's budget. And trust me, the numbers are wild. Pop quiz. Did you know Canada went from welcoming 500,000 permanent residents in 2025 to slashing that number down to 365,000 by 2027? Or that temporary foreign workers dropped by more than 70% this year? Yeah, we went from come on in, the water's fine, to sorry, we're at capacity faster than you can say housing crisis. Let's dive into what's actually happening with Canada's immigration roller coaster. So here's the tea. Prime Minister Mark Carney stood in front of students at the University of Ottawa last week and announced that next week's budget, dropping like a fiscal mixtape on November 4th, will include Canada's new immigration plan. His exact words? To do better for newcomers and for everyone. Now, that's political speak for we're changing things because the old plan wasn't working. And honestly, that's the understatement of the decade. Carney's out here flexing about getting immigration under control. Asylum claims? Down by a third. Temporary foreign workers? Down by more than 70% this year. Those are some serious numbers, folks. It's like Canada went on an immigration diet and lost a whole lot of weight real fast. But here's where it gets interesting. Every year, the government announces how many permanent residents they plan to welcome over the next few years. Last year, they even started setting targets for temporary immigration because apparently we needed to organize literally everyone coming into the country like we're planning a really complicated potluck. But before we get into what Carney's planning, let's talk about where we are right now. Because, spoiler alert, the numbers tell a story that's more dramatic than your favorite Netflix series. Let's start with international students, the category that's been under more scrutiny than a teenager's browser history. The federal government set a target of issuing 437,000 study permits in 2025. As of August, they've issued 244,380. That's it. Here's the kicker. 132,505 fewer new students arrived in Canada between January and August 2025 compared to the same period in 2024. That's not a typo. That's the 132,000 fewer students. That's like an entire university system just vanishing. And get this, for the first time ever, Canada set target levels for temporary residents with the goal of reducing temporary resident volumes to less than 5% of the general population. We're talking 445,901 temporary residents in 2025, dropping slightly to 445,662 in 2026. Because apparently, 239 fewer people will make all the difference. Work permits? The government issued 154,515 between January and August. That's 146,395 fewer visas than the same period last year. Of those new visas, only 43,315 were temporary foreign worker permits. The rest? International Mobility Program. Now, if you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of cuts, you're absolutely right. But permanent residents? That's where things get really interesting. According to the 2025 to 2027 immigration levels plan, Canada slashed its expected new permanent residents from the previous target of 500,000 down to 395,000 in 2025. And it doesn't stop there. 380,000 by 2026 and 365,000 by 2027. That's a drop of 135,000 permanent residents in just 2 years. To put that in perspective, that's like telling the entire population of Kingston, Ontario, sorry, plans changed. As of August, Canada welcomed 276,870 new permanent residents. The government also said 40% of all new permanent residents would come from temporary residents already in Canada. So basically, if you're already here dealing with our winter, you get priority. Fair trade, honestly. But here's the million-dollar question. How do we get here? Because just a few years ago, Canada was singing a very different tune about immigration. Let's rewind to post-COVID Canada. Remember the labor shortages? When every Tim Hortons had a "we're hiring" sign that might as well have been a cry for help. Yeah, the government decided the solution was more immigration. In February 2022, Canada set targets of 431,645 permanent residents in 2022, 447,055 in 2023, and 451,000 in 2024. But wait, they revised it. By November 2022, they cranked those numbers up to 465,000 in 2023, 485,000 in 2024, and a cool 500,000 in 2025. Then something happened. The cost of living absolutely exploded. Housing prices went bonkers. Rent became a luxury expense. Suddenly, groceries cost more than a car payment. And Canadians started side-eyeing immigration policy like, maybe this isn't working. A 2023 Environics Institute survey showed that 44% of Canadians agreed with there's too much immigration to Canada, compared to 51% who disagreed. Doesn't sound dramatic? Check this out. Just a year before, a record-high 69% disagreed with that statement, and only 27% said there was too much immigration. That's a massive shift in public sentiment in just 1 year. We're talking about going from "immigration is great" to maybe "pump the brakes" faster than housing prices doubled. So the government did what governments do. When public opinion shifts, they pivoted hard. In January 2024, Canada announced a national cap on international students, a 35% reduction over 2 years. Former Immigration Minister Mark Miller called it temporary, which in government speak means we'll see how angry people get. By November, Justin Trudeau, before passing the torch to Carney, admitted what everyone was thinking. We didn't get the balance quite right. You think, during the 2025 federal election, Carney committed to keeping those immigration caps in place until we've expanded housing. Translation: we're not opening the floodgates until we have somewhere to put people. Revolutionary concept, really. He also said there's no predetermined